Hi, my name is Donnie Nichols, and welcome to Writing for Hollywood, the act of breaking in. Now, I don't know most of you, but I want to thank you for joining me here today, and for joining us at the 66th Annual Academy Awards. You know, ever since I've been a little kid, I've been watching TV and movies just like the rest of you. But there's always been this little voice inside my head that keeps saying, I can write this stuff. But you know what? It's not writing, it's the hard part. The hard part is breaking in. In fact, sometimes it's hard just getting your material read. Well, that being the case, I want to take you on a journey. I want you to come with me and meet the people who have broken in. We'll talk a little bit about screenwriting, the things that you should know, and then we'll meet the people who are making it happen, the people who can help you break into Hollywood. So sit back, relax, and don't go to sleep.
Hello, my name is Francesca Fanti, and I'm an actress here in Los Angeles. And together with Danny, I would like to join you in this journey to meet some of the most dynamic movers and shakers in the film and television industries. Every year, the Writers Guild of America sponsors an awards ceremony to honor those who have contributed an outstanding work from the year before. We would like to start out by taking you to the Beverly Hills Hilton, and it gives me great honor to introduce you to the 1993 Academy Award-winning screenwriter for Schindler's List, Steven Zaillian.
Okay, hi, my name is Steve Zaillian, and I've been asked to give you some advice about breaking into the screenwriting field. I have only one piece of advice, and that is to write what you care about and to not try to second guess what other people want to see, because I think that if you do that, it'll be obvious, and the only thing worth writing about are those things that you care deeply about.
You in the first row, wake up. My name is Stephen Bochco. I'm a writer and a producer. I'm currently producing NYPD Blue and a new show on ABC called Birds of Paradise. I have been in television for 25 years, and I studied writing in college, Carnegie Tech, now Carnegie Mellon. And I was a very fortunate young man in college because I sort of conned my way into a summer job with Sam Goldwyn Jr., who had come to visit Carnegie Tech promoting a movie of his, and he was addressing a group of us theater students in a small little theater. And I was sitting in the front row, and I asked him a question. I said, Mr. Goldwyn, why is it that Hollywood doesn't produce more original material? It seems that all the movies are from books and existing plays. And he said, well, we would do it if we got more original material. We just don't get it very often. I had an envelope under my arm, and I handed it to him. I said, here, take this. And he wouldn't. And he hemmed and he hawed, and he said, oh, gosh, it's... we can't do it without a release from an agent. And anyway, he sort of slid by it and went on with the class. And fortunately, he didn't take the envelope because there was nothing in it. But when I came to Los Angeles some months later for the summer, I called him and he remembered me, and he gave me a summer job. And that summer job turned into a 9-month position with his company. And I took a leave of absence from school because I thought it would be a very good opportunity to learn something about life outside of college. And then I got restless and I went back to college, and I had a writing fellowship from MCA, Universal Studios. And I used that fellowship to wangle myself a summer job at Universal the next year. And they invited me to come back and work there when I graduated. And this was in the summer of 1966. And I actually have sort of been continuously employed ever since, which is a very rare and fortunate occurrence for somebody who is a writer. I spent 12 years at Universal. Then I spent another 7 years at MTM. And I've been at 20th Century Fox since 1985, under contract to them for 3 or 4 years, and from that point on with my own company. And that's the story of my life, and I'm here tonight happily to receive a Career Achievement Award called the Patty Chayefsky Laurel Award for television. And there's the 5-minute story of my life. The thing that I always advise young writers is to keep writing, no matter what, but to also be very serious about developing other skills and crafts within the industry. Because the truth is that no matter how talented you are as a writer, probably the single most important element of being a working professional writer is miles, experience, age. And generally you don't have that at the age of 21 or 22 when you're coming out of school. So probably more than other crafts in our industry, writing is a really long-term commitment, and it's really tough to shortcut it. It requires growth and time and maturity. And the key is to continue to write and develop your craft through that period of time, so that as you get into your late 20s and into your early 30s, you have a skill level that now begins to match your experience level, so that you can begin to really write the sort of complex things that, at least from my point of view, constitute serious writing.
Hi, my name is Bob Isley. I'm nominated tonight at the Writers Guild Awards for Best Original Drama for Television. I wrote something called Last Light, which was on Showtime, which was a death row piece starring Kiefer Sutherland and Forrest Whitaker. I also was supervising producer of The Equalizer television series, story editor of Crime Story, Humanitas Award-winning writer for Cagney and Lacey that I wrote, and I also wrote co-author of Birds 2, the movie that's on Showtime, and Vanishing Son. I wrote 3 movies for the Vanishing Son series of movies. Essentially, what I think a young person should do, or a new writer of any age, to break in is, first of all, to do the good work. To spend the time in school, or even if you're not in school, becoming a student of screenwriting. Read screenplays. It is a literary form, first and foremost. Then I would suggest, after you've written a good script, to send a query letter to agents as to whether they would want to represent you. And you can get a list of agents from the Writers Guild of America West, which is in, I believe it's in Beverly Hills, California. It might be in Los Angeles. It should be in your directory. I don't have I have the phone number, 310-550-1000. Ask for a list of agents. They don't franchise agents, but the agents that they have listed are wise enough to have signed the minimum basic agreement between writers and agents, which means they're not fly-by-nights and they're not trying to mess with you. Then you send a query letter asking if they would want to read your work, and tell them you're willing to sign any kind of release form that they would require. It sounds like they're going to rip you off, but they don't. It's essentially to protect themselves. Then, if they will sound professional, by the way, if you do that. Then you send a copy of your script in nicely Xerox. Make sure it's done with proper screenplay format. And I would suggest you send to more than one agent at a time, because agents are your key to Hollywood. But that's the business stuff. One other business thing is I do recommend that you register your work with either the Writers Guild of America or send it to the Copyright Office and copyright it, so you are protected. Finally, I just want to reiterate that doing the good work is important. I wouldn't mail a screenplay if I didn't think it was the best I think I'll ever do for a number of years, because you don't want to close doors, and it's okay to have a long apprenticeship. If it takes you many years to write what you consider a really good screenplay, better to start then than to send something that's half-baked too early. And how do you know if it's a good screenplay? Take the classes, take extension courses at college, or take college courses, or writers' workshops. Don't just show it to your girlfriend or your wife or your husband or somebody that loves you, who's a gentle reader. Show it to readers that are a little bit tougher. But in the final analysis, don't lose heart. You've got to have what I call a permeable armor in order to succeed in this business. By that I mean it has to be able to let good criticism through. That's what I mean by permeable. But it has to be armor in that suppressive spirits, or those that would tear you down, you have to keep that criticism out. Because there's a lot of people that want to say, no, you can't do this. When in reality, if you have the desire and you've got some of the talent, believe me, desire and perseverance mean an awful lot. Talent is a quotient, and that's God-given. You can't suddenly say, I have talent. But if you do have the talent, the only way you'll really develop it is to spend time at your craft, and a lot of time at that. I taught junior college for 10 years before I started making a living as a writer. So that is also a good point. Don't quit your day job if you sell something. It's real important to continue to work and to continue to grow, but also to support yourself with a day job in the meantime.
Hi, my name's Bruce Taylor. I'm a member of the Writers Guild and the Producers Guild, and over the last 15 years have either written or co-written or rewritten a little over 200 episodes of half-hour situation comedies and one-hour shows that have appeared on network TV and in syndication. It's appropriate that Different Strokes and Rona Martin's Laughing are two of the big ones. Small Wonder was another one that I helped co-create. Appropriate that I'm talking to high school kids, because I started when I was in high school. Believe it or not, I was 17, and I started writing for Phyllis Diller out of Burlingame, California, a suburb of San Francisco. I did that, strangely enough, by seeing her being interviewed on a local TV show in San Francisco, talking about her appearance at the Fairmont Hotel. And she happened to mention in that interview that she had writers all over the country, housewives and college students and blah, blah, blah. So I'd never written anything in my life. I was just a high school punk, and I sat down and wrote a page of jokes about how she met Fang, her husband. And I drove them up to San Francisco. It was about a 17-mile drive, and I couldn't find Phyllis herself at the Fairmont Hotel, but I found her secretary, and I gave her an envelope with the jokes in it. And about 3 weeks later, I got a note from Phyllis Diller and a check for $45. She bought 9 jokes, $5 a piece. That's all she paid. Doesn't matter whether you were a writer for 30 years or a writer for 30 minutes. That's all she paid, but it started my career and gave me a lot of confidence, obviously. I'd never written anything before. So through that writing experience, I ended up working on a small TV station in San Francisco where we interviewed celebrities and met an awful lot of people. Jimmy Durante became a friend of mine through correspondence. When I first snuck down to Beverly Hills, I looked him up and he had me over for lunch. I also climbed over the fence at NBC to get into the studio because I couldn't get in any other way, and I ran into a fellow who was in publicity who had handled Jimmy Durante in the interview we did in San Francisco. So I said I was looking for a job, and he mentioned that a friend of his, Woody Frazier, was starting a new show called The Della Reese Show, which was a variety show, and they were looking for writers. And that was my first job. I sold my car for $600 and moved from San Francisco to Hollywood, and have been here since 1969. As far as advice is concerned, I interviewed Rod Serling once for a show that he was appearing on, that I was working on too. And he said, never throw away anything. He said, that's where Twilight Zone came from. After I did Requiem for a Heavyweight, I pulled that out of the drawer. I'd written it 20 years before. So a good idea is a good idea. You may not be in a great position to sell it today, but if it's a good idea, it's a good idea now, and it'll be a good idea 5 years from now when you are ready.
Hi, I'm Darryl Busby, a television writer. My experience has been both the area of evening situation comedy and the last few years breaking into the children's area, having done a series for Disney based on Alice in Wonderland called Adventures in Wonderland, which was, as I describe it, a live-action show, kind of a sitcom with music. I was nominated twice for the Writers Guild Award in 1 year and won the award, which was nice. It's always nice to win awards. And this year I'm nominated 4 times in the category for the same award. If you really want to get into this business, I can speak really only for television, and that is to write and keep writing. That sounds very simple, but a lot of people don't realize that it takes an enormous amount of work, I guess, to get to the part where you're nominated for awards. That's the fun part. The hard part is writing, and you've got to have a lot of scripts under your belt. Even if you've written a terrific television sample script, an agent will usually read it, love it, and say, I need to see something else. What else do you have? If you want to break into comedy, one of the best ways, one of the sort of tried and true ways, is to watch television, find a show that's popular, that you can relate to, that you feel you can do a good job on. Then sit down and write a sample episode of that show. Keep polishing it, and then go back and polish it again. Because if you're lucky enough to get somebody to read that script, you're going to get one time. So if they don't like the script, you're not going to have a chance to say, well, I can fix it. Can you, they're not going to read it a second time. So get opinions, watch the show, see that that script is as true to the show as you can get it. And then once that's done, write a second one. Like I said, you have to keep writing, and frankly, you have to be ready to knock around a few years. The old wait table, struggling writer routine. But if you love doing it and you love to write, then do it. Because even though they're always complaining, the truth is we need good writers in this town, and they're hard to come by.
Hi, my name is Gary Ross. I'm nominated for the film Dave. That's why I'm here, and in a tuxedo. They've asked me to give you advice on how to break in. The best way to break in is to write and write and write, and write well. And don't worry about the business aspects of this. They're all going to take care of themselves. Worry about what you care about. Worry about what you want to write about. Just pay attention to that, and everything else will take really, really good care of itself.
Well, really, in any script is a sense of whether or not the characters seem to come off the page, whether time has been taken to sort of create a whole life for the characters, so that you know what might have happened before the movie took place, so you have a sense of a person, where they came from, really in their entire background. A sense that there is some kind of life other than just the topic that the movie covers, that this person sort of stands on their own. That the scenes, you have to have genuine conflict, that the dialogue has the ear of reality to it, that a writer should be careful not to try to explain too much to an audience. Let the audience, do a reasonable amount of work in understanding the characters. Don't patronize the audience. And I think look at the people who have excellent story structure, and look at movies from the writing point of view. We're in such a visual age. We tend to look at things from how things are being done technically and visually. But look at people that you admire, who can tell a good story and who can write a good plot, where the characters seem to be alive. And then take whatever script you're working on and really be ruthless with yourself. I've written a couple of things, and sometimes you get to a point where you get used to something, you feel comfortable with it, and you think, well, I like it like that, and the hell with them if they don't understand. You have to be much more self-critical than that, and give the script out to other people to read, and if they don't get it, if they don't understand it, if it isn't clear, if it isn't exciting, if it isn't dramatic, if the points aren't made, all that, then you have to take people's advice. You have to be very, very willing to rewrite and to sort of be humble about your work, so that you emerge with something that can withstand the collaboration when, a director, producer, actors, editors get a hold of it. You have to be willing to acknowledge you're working in a collaborative medium. And yours is just a very strong part of a strong contribution, but it isn't the end all. So if you can withstand all of that and you still want to be a writer, then good luck.
Hi, I'm Vicki Paddock. I'm a screenwriter. I started writing about 10 years ago after a career as an actress in the musical theater for 10 years. And so I would say this is my second career. And I think that by and large I prepared for it with my college education in philosophy, and then my career as an actress, where I was studying scripts and learning how to emote and learning how to present ideas to an audience. I have had some real nice success with my screenwriting. I had always aspired to be a writer when I was a kid, and when I was in high school I worked on the school newspaper, and I loved to do creative writing. And my father always said I should be a writer, and my mother said I should be a teacher, so maybe I'll get around to teaching someday. But I started with school newspaper, and I was in the debate club, and I always loved exchanging ideas with people. And now I feel that what I do as a screenwriter is present my ideas through drama to audiences. I try to reach them through their heart. And if I can present an idea and reach somebody emotionally, then I feel I have actually conveyed something that will affect a person. I feel that maybe my best preparation for writing was to live my life and to observe life very closely. I do many things that I only do because I say to myself, I am a writer, I need to know what it feels like to do this thing. I'm very afraid of water. I almost drowned once, but I actually learned to scuba dive. I had one lesson in a swimming pool, and then I was in the ocean 35 feet down, and scared to death. But I did it because I wanted to see what the ocean looked like from underneath it. And I do many things like that. I have experiences and meet people and do things I might never have the courage to do, only because I know this will allow me to write about it. Also, I take notes. I write notes about everything. I hear people say something in a restaurant, and I write it down on a napkin, and I save the napkin. I have a little box of my favorite things I've heard people say. It's a way of helping me to study the way people talk and the way they express their ideas. Sometimes I get to use a line that I've heard. Not very often, but when it happens, it's very exciting to know that I actually found this in real life. And I am constantly observing people, watching what they do, how they think. I am constantly studying about people. Many writers, and I think this is a good thing, read a lot of fiction to make themselves familiar with what other writers have done with the form. I have never spent much time reading fiction. I read nonfiction. Every time I pick up a book, it's to learn about some other aspect of life that I don't know anything about. And often I am writing a script about some aspect of life that I know little about, so I need to educate myself. So I'm constantly reading nonfiction. Unfortunately, I don't have a very good memory, so I forget everything about 3 months after I finish writing the script, so it's too bad. Well, in my next life, I'll have a better memory. That's what I would like. But I think the thing that a writer needs to think about is not how to get an agent and how to be a success and will I be a success or any of those questions. They will happen if they're going to happen. And if you love to write, if you love to express yourself, if you have ideas that you want to express, and if you are open, if you are open to exposing yourself, letting your feelings come out, letting your bearing yourself in a way, if you are willing to give yourself to an audience, then your writing will be very effective. You will touch people, you will reach them. And I think those are the things to worry about. Your education, what are you learning about life, what are you experiencing of life, and how willing are you to give all that away in your writing. And that's the best advice I can give.
Hi, my name is Jeff Arch.
I have 2 movies that were out this year. One was called Sleepless in Seattle, which was an original story of mine, and another one was called Iron Will, which was a Disney movie that I was hired to rewrite. Since you guys are high school kids, you probably didn't see it because it's a Disney movie and you're too cool. First thing you need to know about writing is you don't need this tie. I'm only wearing it tonight because there's a party. Some writers down there are not wearing their ties. Some of them are. Right now I'm using it to hold up this microphone. So first of all, if you want to lead an unconventional life, writing is the way to go. I'm told that this is going to feature interviews with other writers and that they're going to show pictures of Hollywood and the streets and the parties and the awards. First thing I want to tell you is even though it's great to be nominated for a Writers Guild Award and an Academy Award this year, that is not what it's about. When I was in high school, I wanted the kind of life that I have right now. I had no idea about how to get it. It isn't about awards. I thought it was, and it took me a long time to get it straight in my head that what it's really about is finding your voice and learning how to tell a story. Whether you want to write for television, whether you want to write for the movies, whether you want to write novels, plays, poems, greeting cards, the thing you have to do is figure out how to bring out what's inside of you. And every single one of you is different, and maybe a whole bunch of grown-ups in your life are coming and telling you this stuff, but the fact is, we're not stupid about this. This is true. Every single one of you is different. Every single one of you has a story to tell, and all these people are trying to hand you tools, and maybe some of the tools are going to work for you, and maybe some of the tools are not going to work for you. It's your job to find your own among the ones that are offered to you and among the ones that aren't. I got to tell you, I tried all the conventional ways of, I went to school. I did not go to school to learn writing. Writing is just something I kind of came in with. I had a talent for that ever since I was a kid. Nobody really knew what to do with it. I could always write my way out of any kind of a spot all through school, all through college. I learned how to be a filmmaker in college. And how to make a movie, and it really has helped as a writer to know what everybody's concerns are. It didn't help as a storyteller, because as a storyteller, it goes back to probably some of the stuff you might be ignoring that your English teachers and stuff are telling you, which is that a story has to have a beginning and a middle and an end, and it has to have a character that you care about. And you have to figure out how to get out all the exposition, which is all the information that an audience needs to know in order to appreciate and understand and get something out of the story. I personally, probably like any writer that you're going to talk to or listen to, I hate exposition. I can't stand it. It's like the worst homework in the world. But you learn artful ways to deal with it, and you learn ways to just like exposition is part of writing that I don't really like a lot. There's a whole lot about life that you're not going to really like a lot, but it's there. It's there with everything else. So what you have to do is learn how to manage the parts that you don't like and make friends with them somehow. I once heard someone say that the difference between a winner and a loser is that a winner is willing to do the things that a loser is not willing to do. I wish someone told me that in high school. I might have blown them off if they did, but I wish someone told me that so that it would have stuck with me, because that's really the truth. There are people downstairs in this room right now who have been nominated for Writers Guild Awards, and the Writers Guild is a union for writers. There is nothing you've ever seen on television or in a movie that wasn't written by a member of the Writers Guild. How to get into the Writers Guild: you write something that somebody wants to buy, and you're in. Basically, there's a little bit more to it, but basically, that's how you get into Writers Guild. It is not like the technical craft unions. It is not like the Directors Guild. It's not like the Cameraman's Union. Editors, the writers control the material that all these other people make. And there's an incredible sense of power and authority that comes with that. Once you sell something, you don't really have a whole lot of power and authority because you're a writer. And that's the way it works. But you have power because you are creating a world, and you are learning, you can learn, and I guess if you want to be a writer, you'd better learn how to get that world onto a piece of paper, how to get people to care about a story. If you guys are in the inner city, or if you're in the suburbs, no matter where you are, like I said before, you have a story. There is something that makes you unique,
And 10 of you in the same class could write 10 different stories about being in a high school class, and they'll all come out different because you're all different. So on one hand, find the ways that you're like everybody else. On the other hand, find the ways that you're different from everybody else. Somewhere in there is a story. And remember the stuff that stinks. You got to have a beginning, you got to have a middle, you got to have an end. If you want my advice, think of the end first. If any of you saw Sleepless in Seattle, that movie came to me basically in a couple of hours. Nothing that I've done since has come that quickly, but it came to me in a couple of hours because I thought, what about the end? If you saw it, it's about two people who do not meet for the entire length of the picture, and they finally do meet on the last page of the movie on top of the Empire State Building on Valentine's Day. And when I thought of that, I knew that is such a great ending that I got to figure out a beginning and a middle to go with it. But when I knew where I wanted to go, which is kind of like a thing for your lives, if you only knew where you wanted to go, you might have a, an inkling of a clue about how to get there. But I knew exactly where I wanted to go, and I knew the way screenplays are structured, you have 120 pages to get there. It's not a novel. You can't go on forever. And it was a love story. Love stories have requirements. Action stories have requirements. Detective stories have requirements. Family stories have requirements. Cartoons have requirements. You need to learn what those requirements are. You need to find instructors who may be sitting right in front of you, who may be somebody you have to go to a library actually and read a book about them. If you're in a big city, I'm sure there's seminars and all kinds of avenues. I got to tell you, I spent my early 20s ignoring all the things that I'm telling you about now. I thought I was too big to go to some seminar to learn how to write a movie. I thought I'd teach myself. I did teach myself. It took me a long time. Then I got humble and started going to all these seminars and finding out what I had taught myself all along, that there was a name for it. It might have saved me some time. I'd like to save you some time. And just be open and be humble and be curious. And as long as you remember humility and curiosity, the whole world is going to come to you. If you assume that you know nothing and that every single person that comes into your path is your teacher in some way, whether they're checking out stuff at the supermarket or whether you're buying a magazine from them or whether they're your teacher or whether it's a school doctor or school nurse or whatever it is, your little brother or sister, if you assume that every person has at least one thing to teach you and you look for that, you're going to end up learning a whole lot. And if you stay curious, and instead of being bored, if you turn that into, instead of I'm bored, I'm curious, then you can look at a carpet and figure out, how do they make this thing? How many things to an inch are there? And it's better than being bored. But you just start asking questions. When you ask yourself the right questions, you get the right answers. Sooner or later, it takes practice. It takes time. It takes a lot of patience. One thing you absolutely have to know, if you want to write for movies, and if you want to write for television, if you want anything to do with show business, you're going to get hurt. And that's important to know. You're going to get hurt. The difference is, learn how to get hurt, learn how to get embarrassed, learn how to get all these things, and learn how to get up. Because the only people that you really are competing against are the people that know how to get up after they've been hurt. Because 95% of the people just shine on it and find something else to do as soon as they've been hurt one time. So getting hurt isn't bad. Getting your heart broken isn't bad, as long as it makes you stronger. What I deal with a lot is the emotional life of characters. I don't write big action films. I don't write for Mel Gibson, in Lethal Weapon 5 and Lethal Weapon 7. And if I were to write about Lethal Weapon 5 and Lethal Weapon 7, it would be what's going on inside the character, not so much running out of a burning building. A lot of writers in town can do that. That's really not my strength. I'm going to close, but I just want to say one more thing. In basketball, they always used to tell you, learn how to dribble with both hands. Most guys didn't. Most guys said, well, I'm right-handed or I'm left-handed. I'm just going to get really good at the thing that I'm good at. That's not enough. You have to get great at the thing you're good at, and you have to get good at the thing you're bad at. And the worst thing you will ever be is good, as long as you do not coddle your weaknesses, turn them into strengths, or turn them into at least something neutral, so that your very worst is still something good, and you're going to be fine. You got to take heart. You're going to get beat up. Learn how to get back up, and treat the world with kindness, and it'll treat you with kindness eventually. Maybe not case by case, but the nicer you are, the more kind you are, that stuff comes back to you. And A lot of people are going to offer you shortcuts. A lot of people are going to offer you opportunities to get somewhere quicker, and maybe it's going to involve doing something kind of lousy to somebody else, whether they know about it or not. I got to tell you, that stuff follows you around. And if I had gotten where I am right now, having taken a shortcut, it wouldn't feel as good as it does right now. Because I got to tell you, the best feeling right now is not that I might win an Academy Award next week, although let's face it, that's going to feel great. The best feeling is, it took me until I was 39 years old to do this, and maybe at 29 I could have done it by screwing somebody, but I didn't want to do that. And I'm much happier because this is a pure victory. Whether I win this thing or not, it feels great because I did it myself with a lot of help, but I did it myself. I took my own advice. I listened to everything that was out there, and I only did what made sense to me. When you do something that isn't consistent with what you really feel, whether it works or not, if it works, you're going to feel like, yeah, you know, but that was somebody else's, you know, program. And if it doesn't work, you're going to feel even worse. You have to stay consistent with what your own feelings are. You have to trust your own feelings, but you also have to support your own feelings by living right, acting right, being right. And that takes experience. Final thing, someone told me once, success is the result of good judgment. Good judgment is the result of experience. Experience is the result of bad judgment. That's all I got to say. I hope to see everybody else who's watching this thing at the Academy Awards up there one day making your speech like I hope to make mine. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.